Welcome to you all. Welcome to this webinar on cooperation on video gaming training. Just a few details, technical details. Today you have remote simultaneous interpretation services from French to English and English to French. So you should see at the bottom bar of your screen a little module with the tiny globe. And there you can pick and choose your language, something you know, obviously, if you hear this voice.
Very happy to have you here for this webinar on training programs in the field of gaming. You have the possibility to either follow this webinar in French or in English. So down your screen, you have an interpretation bar button where you can click on and decide to choose to follow the webinar either in French or in English. Je vais tout de suite passer donc petit point aussi sur.
Let me now move on to the program of this webinar. Thomas Michelon, counselor at the for cooperation and cultural action of the French Embassy in Belgium. We will talk about the introduction. Then we will have an exchange on gaming training and make talents more professional. And this will be moderated by Christina Galouzzi. And we will have Julien Villedieu. We will have two case studies from Jean-Philippe Houry, Director for Corporate Relations at ISART Digital. We will have Sophie Chiaratura and David Bialy from Maracas Studio. And we will also have the Councillor of the City of Brussels, Fabien Manguin, who is Alderman for Economic Affairs, Employment, Smart City and Administrative Simplification. This is the first part. Then we will have a second part with pitches from schools which offer gaming training and who are on the lookout for new partnerships. That's it for me. Over to you, Thomas. Thank you, Charlotte. Hi to all of you. I know you are many here today in the room. Many people registered to this webinar. We are delighted by this. I would like to thank our diplomatic partners from Switzerland, Luxembourg, Netherlands, and all the professors who joined us and co-organized this meeting, made it possible. I would also like to thank Christina Galuzzi. Thank you so much for moderating the very first part of this webinar. And I would like to thank the alderman from the city of Brussels and also, the other people who are representing authorities here. We have many professionals of gaming here around the table, also people representing schools, and also from the gaming industry. We are the embassy. We talked about equality and diversity. These are priorities to us. And we put this forward here, and we are delighted to see that people will be here to talk about this. So we organized this webinar for two main reasons. Two ideas you know very well. First and foremost, this industry is booming, and as a consequence, we need talents. In France, we've had plus 10% of companies between 2020 and 2021 in the gaming industry, plus 40% of job offers there. And since 2010, in my country, France, we've seen plus 9% of employment in this industry on average, year in, year out. This means that the gaming industry is blooming. What's more, second pillar here, competition means we need stable economic conditions and in order to keep talents. And this is something we know very well in France, in Belgium, and elsewhere. This is pivotal. In France, we try to develop some mechanisms to face challenges as different structures, but I'm convinced there are other good practices and good ideas we could copy to develop the ecosystem properly. And Julien Villedieu and the alderman and all of you, you'll be able to share your ideas and inputs on this matter. This industry is tense because of all the challenges, diversity, parity, also talents and acquiring new competences. It is good for a youngster to create things, but we need true, very fine competences, marketing-wise or entrepreneurship-wise. And these are also key elements I want to stress here. So we wanted to organize this exchange with all the stakeholders, bottom up and top down, all the pillars And we would need, well, this regional approach, if not a European approach. And we will start with Benelux here around the table. And we are losing Thomas, says the interpreter. And we will have an exchange here in order, well, to reach several things. We would like to develop a joint action plan on training and talent acquisition and retention. Second thing we would like to achieve, we are from embassies, whether in Switzerland, in the Netherlands, in Belgium, or elsewhere. And as a consequence, we want to promote the diversification of experiences. And as a consequence, we want to develop partnerships, cooperation in schools and elsewhere. And this is pivotal because every place has their own specificities, and we need to build bridges so that students today and tomorrow can also diversify their academic experience. And second point, which is very important for us embassies, there is a close link between companies, the industry, and training. And as a consequence, we need to accompany youngsters on the way to employment and full entrepreneurship as well. We need to avoid any gap and give them all the keys to unlock the full potential they develop. There is this gap we should avoid as much as possible so that well, they can face life, yes, that's it. So two tiny points. Just would like to tell you that we will be able to continue off screens in live this exchange because with our friends in Charleroi, we will organize it in autumn a meet and build. France will be the main guest, and this will be an opportunity to continue our exchanges. I think our friend will talk about it. And secondly, at the Embassy of France in Belgium and elsewhere, we have missions for invitations which allow to invite professional stakeholders to meet their peers in the different countries, and this allows us to develop more cooperation. That's what I wanted to say. I won't use any more of your time. I will give you the word. I'm again delighted to have you all around the table, and I look forward to this exchange. And sorry for the tiny mistake I made in French. Again, all the best to you, and thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. So before giving the floor to Christina Galuzzi, who will moderate the first part of the webinar, I wanted to tell you that you also have the possibility after this first part to ask your questions. We will have a question and answer session, so you'll be able to raise your hand, and Alexis Ramel will give you the word. That's it. Christina, over to you. Hi, everyone. I am Christina Galouzis. I'm responsible at Digital City Brussels, and I would first and foremost thank Ambassador, the French Embassy, for allowing me to play an active role in this webinar, which talks about tomorrow digital jobs and very important stakes. I will have indeed the possibility to moderate the first part, but before introducing the first speaker, I would like to take some time to explain who we are at Digital Cities Brussels, our work, and talk about the report we published last year, which focused on the jobs and the training for gaming in Brussels. So let me share my screen. I have a tiny PowerPoint. I hope you see it. So, Digital City Brussels, who are we? We are the training and employment pool for digital jobs. We are a private public partnership PPP based in Brussels, and the idea is to gather all the stakeholders for employment and training for adults in Brussels in the digital industry, we have three pillars. First, we focus on training and validating competences, and this is mainly managed by Bruxelles Formation, VDAB, and Validation des Compétences. These are public bodies, French-speaking, Dutch-speaking public bodies, which build bridges between students, employment, and training. Then we have a second pillar, which is focusing on employment, and this is with Actiris in Brussels. This and at Actiris, they have a team for employment within Digital City Brussels, and the idea is to be in touch with job seekers who are in these digital schools and who build bridges between these job seekers and companies which are on the lookout for talents, to create clear pathways so that, well, these companies can recruit the upcoming talents. And then we have one pivotal pillar, the industrial pillar. Pillar is working on the non-profit and on the industry, and it hires digital profiles. And I guess the same thing happens in Belgium as in France. There is a certain scarcity, and this pillar works on communication, on events. There are many events in Digital City, and last year we organized with the French Embassy an event on AI, and we also work on monitoring. So we have several operational assignments and missions. Let me dig into details. We work on the relationship with the industry contacts, with the companies, validating competences. We try to validate a series of competences which are developed throughout the training or professional experience. Then we work on equipments and infrastructure. We make available certain infrastructure, classrooms, meeting rooms, but also auditoria, and we also have trainings for job seekers and companies. We can also create trainings, tailor-made trainings for companies which are looking for certain profiles, and then we work on other actions for job seekers, actions I've already mentioned. So why do we proceed to monitoring? Well, we want to have a close look to the companies, on the uh, uh, job market, and every year we publish a report on a given topic, digital topic or current affairs topic, and we analyze everything uh, through the lens of Brussels capital, and we try to see what our specificities are. Last year, as I have said, we focused on gaming, and we published a report in this area. This was a bit new to us because in Belgium, the gaming industry is rather related to audiovisual and not the digital industry. And as a consequence, we've had to build many bridges because this is an industry we didn't really know, but this allowed us to see that there were crucial needs for this industry because many companies wish to hire upcoming talents. And this means, well, that we have some work ahead. We also work with monitoring, and we publish podcasts, articles, and videos on our YouTube channel. We also organize several events, the digital days, after we publish our reports. And what's more, we analyze the job market. Very briefly and quickly, this report on gaming focused on different objectives. We wanted first and foremost to understand the ecosystem, the stakes for our publics, the companies, the job seekers, and so on. We also wanted to analyze the needs in competences, employment, and then we wanted to determine our role throughout the different assignments and missions I just explained, i.e., building bridges with companies, providing equipment, meeting rooms, classrooms. And all of this is explained in our report and in our conclusions, a report which is used throughout different events and in different conferences. Finally, thank you. Thank you ever so much for listening to me. And now I want to tell you that if you are interested by this report, you can find it on digitalcity.brussels in French and Dutch. That's it for me. I will now stop sharing my screen. Just give me a sec. There we go. I will now give the floor to our first speaker, Julien Villedieu, who is General Delegate of the French National Video Game Union. He's also member of the European Games Developer Federation, and we will talk about the industry in Europe, the challenges and training and recruitment of talents. Hi, Julien. Let me ask you a first question. What's the role of the French Syndicat National? So our body was created in 2008. We represent the companies which produce, edit, and train in the area of gaming in France. We have over 250 members, and we represent over 10,000 jobs and plus 4% of GDP in France. We have many different profiles and different companies of different sizes with stakeholders who are on traditional platforms of gaming, but also companies which are exploring new pathways in environments such as the metaverse, the blockchain. We also talk a lot about AI, obviously. And this means that we have quite a fabric made of different companies, and we have different stakeholders, multinationals, but also startups working at the regional level. Our body was created by studios for development in 2008, and the main aim was actually since 2004 to put forward the gaming industry in France, bearing in mind that the situation was quite tricky. You may remember it even today. And indeed, we needed to put in place the right conditions to make our industry attractive in France. And finally, we are the main spokesperson on this area for the industry, for the media and public authorities in France. Whenever it comes to our market, we are the go-to actor. And then there is also the trade union for distribution in France, which is also useful. While talking about the gaming industry, what does the job market in France represent? Is there some kind of specificity in France? Well, we may have some specificities related to the type of jobs we have, meaning that in France, mm, production companies are overrepresented if we compare them to UK or Germany, our two main competitors in Europe. So when it comes to the French specificities, we have many SMEs working on development and production. They have been created over the last 15 years, and they are at the opposite of Caliso from Bordeaux, or Infogrames in Lyon, or even Ubisoft, which created many independent and big productions. Many international success stories stemming from France actually come from tiny teams which started in multinationals. So our specificity is indeed that production is overrepresented, and then there is the issue of copyright as well, meaning that over 90% of the productions year in, year out are created by these teams, and the rights are held by these teams. This has consequences on the jobs, and many jobs are coming from creation in the widest sense of the term. And every 2 years, we publish a report on this matter, and there are some 51 jobs on creation. And most of these jobs are related to art, to IT, and even to project management. Then there are other jobs which are now integrated in the value chain of production, jobs related to relationship with communities or data analysis, not to mention the support functions we find in any other companies. And these jobs tend to be in development studios as well, because these studios tend to try to purchase their products directly, even though they also work with editors. They try indeed to build the bridges directly with players. And this truly changed the way we see games in France today versus 15 years ago. Back in the day, companies would knock on the door of editors and distributors, which then would address themselves to consumers. But today, consumers, players are directly in touch with the developers, and this has many consequences on the development of games. You know how the process has evolved, and well, this has had a huge impact on the value chain and the jobs in the development studios in France. A few figures now. There are some 15,000 jobs, 15 to 20,000 jobs. It's not that precise in this industry in France. There are plus 10K people working on production directly, who are employed by 700 development studios. And we carried out a study with our yearly barometer, and plus 40% um, of workers have a fixed and undefined contract, meaning that they are not working on a short time assignment, and they have a certain safety and job security. This is good for the stability in our industry as well. So you've already talked about the different profiles searched by the companies, but I also wanted to talk about the scarcity of talents. Is there a scarcity in France? Scarcity of talents for the gaming industry, and how could we explain this scarcity of talents? So I don't know if there is a scarcity of, or rather if it is difficult to find the right profiles. This is a true topic to us. And as it was said in the intro, globally speaking, even though the gaming industry is booming and has been booming for years, and even though we create 1,000 to 1,500 jobs every year in this industry, challenges remain. Obviously, we should dig more into details about the given jobs and the areas in which we are looking for talents. But globally speaking, today, we are training many students and upcoming workers for our company, but not in the right areas, meaning that, well, according to our study for Horizon Jeux Vidéo, which will share its conclusion in the upcoming weeks, we try to understand why training, the initial training, is not in line with the true needs of the companies. The training lasts quite some time, while companies need more direct reactions. We know how fast IT goes and how fast the economic system evolves in this industry as well. Training needs to evolve and has a slower pace when it comes to delivering upcoming workers. As a consequence, indeed, it looks like there are some needs, and then, well, some titles and some youngsters who arrived after these trainings, and they are not in line with the market's needs. We have many youngsters, for example, in France, who are trained on game design, but game design is not really a job needed by French companies. And for some years' time now, we have understood this, and game design training has evolved so that these game designers can have a better understanding of the relationship with the communities, of the economic model, and they have a wider set of competences. And as a consequence, well, today it is possible to bring these game designers in production teams on different types of jobs. And so they go beyond game designing, because indeed, to do game designing, you need a certain amount of competences. So yes, we have needs. We have needs on technical jobs, and we can feel the tension because whenever because well, talents are in competition with other ecosystems, software editors and other companies. Thank you very much for your intervention. We'll now have to move on to our second expert. Thank you so much, and we wish you a lovely day. Our second expert is Federica Nocerino. She's ambassador for women in games and women in tech. Since 2022, she's also a freelancer in grand design, digital content, and we will talk about the stakes of gender equality. Hi to you, Federica. Thank you.
Hello, I'm going to speak in English and I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to ask you questions in French. Is it okay with you? Yes, of course. No, not to worry. So first of all, could you tell me what are the missions and actions of Women in Games?
Language, so I'm also more understandable, I would say. I am Federica, so as you introduced my position, I am a marketer. I work in this industry, in game and also tech, and I'm also a Women in Games ambassador. And our purpose as part of the organization is to build and create a safe, inclusive, and equity playing field for all the women and also underrepresented groups in these industries. So it's really about trying to attract more talents in that way. So, and also more diverse talents to fight these sort of lack of talent sometimes, or like the right talents in that sense. And we do so by partnering up with organization, companies, and industries that want to, of course, diverse their workforce, have better collaboration, and also have a different point of view in their workforce, actually. So this is very important because, as we have heard also, the video game industry is very fast growing. It's deemed to reach out more than 208.5 billion by 2027. And while on one end there is a lot of revenue and it's very economically relevant, on the other we can see that there are not the right talents, and at the same time the industry is very much men dominated. So a solution to that could be definitely to create a different pool of talent by hiring a diverse point of view, but not just hiring for the right fit, and trying to actually foster an education, like a culture of hiring for like a different point of view, and actually also growth. And so this is really much what all of Women in Games is about, and some of the solutions they foster for this industry.
Ok, merci. Donc, est-ce qu'on peut faire un petit rappel des statistiques?
Thank you. Could you recall the statistics on the number of women in gaming trainings and in companies of video games and video game studios?
The market as a whole is one of the highest ones. The actual representation of women in games is actually less than 30%, and women working in video games, especially in tech roles, goes less than 30, 24, around 24%. So there is a really, it's still like a very constant, I would say, the monotone working environment that I think can take advantage of the diversity of the actual talent pool that is available for people that are interested and maybe actually drop out on this industry after like an internship or a workshop. So it's something that can be actually fostered if companies participate more, and also, you know, the percentage can be definitely improved.
Et donc, une dernière petite question.
Right, and a last question. What are the barriers to hiring women in industry? Are there any issues, problems with hiring practices currently?
propose is definitely to bridge one of the solutions is definitely bridge the gap between the school education and the job world. In some of the examples are for sure including ways to align education and the industry needs through work-based learning, vertical workshops, and hands-down skills that can be taught to women, or like a diverse pool of the talents. Another solution is to how to make your work, your job and your company more attractive for diverse people. So how to make it more equal, I would say. And sometimes in this field, equal doesn't mean giving to everybody the same things, but actually allowing, empowering everyone to do and to perform the job. So some solutions that we propose, of course, are being transparent about the salaries, the compensation, giving flexible working, going above the statutory compliance with regulation, and make like your job also like a safe place for a person that may not be the right fit or the perfect fit, but can be, of course, and can be fostered in that. So in this one, supporting this point, I think it's very important to educate the leaders and the management in this industry, and to actually craft not only like a communication, but also like your culture as a company to fit these values, of course. And that's why we partner up with different companies for that, offering, of course, spaces to present themselves and actually to attract the different talents and diverse talents. So yes, I would really like to just end my...
Okay, on a encore une minute. Est-ce que vous
Right,
pourriez...
we still have 1 minute. Could you very quickly tell me what could be the barriers impeding recruitment of women in companies? Oh, no, sorry, this was the former question. So you have already talked about it, but how could we attract women in companies, and do you have recommendations of good practices for institutions and businesses, companies?
To make your workplace attractive for like a diverse talent of pool. So of course, some of the very basic practices are, as I said, workshops, getting content with organizations like Women in Games that are part where the communities gather, and you will find different talent pools. Make policies to create a safe environment for women and people of a diverse background. It's very normal for hiring managers to choose the safer and the perfect fit. But if you invest as a leader in a possible diverse talent, you're gonna actually also invest, of course, in also more diverse working place, and like a richer also opportunity for your company, I would say. So yes, definitely something that makes your company attractive: flexible working, transparency, safety, partnership, and actual bridging the gap between the education and your company.
Ok, un grand merci pour votre intervention.
Right,
Frédéric.
thank you very much indeed for this, Federica. Now we are going to the next person. Jean-Frédéric Houry from the ISER Digital School is in charge of integration of professional integration of students. We are going to talk about the means implemented to create links between education and the working environment. Hello, Jean-Philippe. So first, how does a school adapt to the requirement of the industry? Well, I will answer you. What does ISAR? It's been more than 20 years that this school has existed. It promotes alternance model since it was created, which is very specific for our school. So to answer you, we adapt to the need of the industry through a real proximity with industry. This is one of the main pillars of our work, which there is an alternation in the curriculum, which means that students every 2 weeks and 4 years out of 5 spend time in the industry. So they are operational. When they get their degree, they learn directly from their experience in the internship, and then they start immediately to work. This alternance is based on a constant relationship of the school with the HR people, with the companies. And for this, the school has a structure, the companies relations department, with 7 people for about 700 students. So it gives you an idea of the means invested by the school for this. Then this proximity goes hand in hand with the right hiring of professional teachers from studios. This is also another pillar of our approach, teaching approach. And then these professionals, after their experience as teachers, they go back to the production business. So this is a way to make sure that we do address the needs of the companies. This model leads to a pipeline of pools of pluridisciplinary students train in the trades that they are going to be working on in their future careers, and they are managed by leaders of the industry. So the structure to produce a project starts right at school based on the needs of the industry. And then finally, on this proximity, we have a constant openness to studios with specific events through which studios can come promote trades in shortage or scarcities, also project methodology, and also know-how of each studios. And then we also work on a quality approach open to the professional world, and we put students into internships with a tailor-made recruitment support based on quality. So we try to match the profiles of students with the needs of companies, which means that we have profiling tools on students' skills. So we give our students skills tailor-made to the needs of the companies, and we have teams dedicated to this hiring process. Students have meetings with our teams to have feedbacks from the companies, but also to work on the content of the training. So we are really on a quality open approach. The integration of professionals in this quality approach also leads to advice, tips and advice from professionals to students to get better and to improve their skills. And they also give us their opinions to improve our trainings. And then professionals, as I was telling you, are also present, participate to the conferral of the diplomas and to the juries, which is key. Right. Thank you for this explanation. What advice would you give to the job seekers in this area? Well, the video game industry is very specific with its specific code. So the first thing is to know the sector. So you have to do monitoring. This is very important, which is why we do a lot of conference to feed students into this logic of monitoring. And then also very important, based on this monitoring, creating a network. And a network in video games industry is based on mutual help. And this is something supported by studios and professionals. And we help students through the development of their soft skills. Then the attractivity of the sector is very important. So the fact to take initiatives is something very important indeed as well. Then, other way to raise students' awareness, it's not only about the know-how, but also the ability to communicate. It's good to be able to work on a project, but then they must be able to communicate on their projects to give them visibility and make them understandable to their peers. And then, lastly, in the research, we are not closed on a specific typology of trades, and then we would have limited pools of available jobs on the market. We know that in this industry, there is a great openness on trades, on the personal development of wage earners internally. So we try to have a right approach on this. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Jean-Philippe, for this. Now we go to the second case study, a video game studio. We are going to talk with David Bailly, is artistic director in charge of hiring, but also with Sophie Sheratura. I hope I did not mispronounce your name. She's co-leader at Mahaka Studio. We are going to talk about hiring dynamic, the profiles speaked. What kind of profiles video game studios starting are you looking for? Will echo some things that Jean-Philippe Houry just said. We are a very young, small studio with a very small team, so it would be meaningless to look for highly specialized teams or only in one specific field. So what we are looking for is a Swiss knife, if you like, someone able, very versatile, not only with one main skill, but versatile and able to learn new skills to make projects move forward. For example, a designer who can also make prototypes or integrate, a 3D artist who is also able to do a reading or to animate. It doesn't need to be their specialty, but they must be fluent with those things, and this will help the whole team to progress. And we also look for autonomous people. It doesn't mean that people are left alone, but they must be able to take charge of a project proactively and not only follow instructions, but also be able to butt in. Sometimes with very micro tasks and just bring some added value to the project, which means that at the end of the day, the end project will be will represent the team effort, not just a single person. Right. And what is the hiring recruitment hiring dynamic of a small studio? I can give you the floor later, Sophie. No, go ahead. Yes, we have ambitions. We are about 6 full-time equivalent with the managers, and our ambition is to reach 14 full-time equivalent by the end of the year, which would only be possible if we can fund the project in our production pipelines. But we have ambitions and ideas as to the specific profiles we want to fill, but it depends on the funding and also the schedules of publishers. Yes, it depends on the needs of the studios, but also on the fundings that we can get to some things as we only have 6 minutes. That's not a long time. Right. Do you have an inclusion culture in hiring? Is it something important to you? Well, it is important. We are a small studio, so we try to already build a company culture right from the start and not at a later stage. That would be too late. And in our values, we have, for example, taking care of one another, respecting one another, learning together to get better. But we don't really have notions of inclusivity or diversity in our values. This is a choice, of course. It's the result of a lot of discussion, and we try to find the best for the development of our teams, but we don't really have those 2 key words. What in hiring process, we always try to find a new piece to the puzzle, to the already existing pieces of puzzle that we have in our team, the goal being for each new hiring to bring an added value to being able to butt in and be an engine and add to the whole team. And then we do small things. For example, when we have a job interview, we already say in advance by email how many people will be present, who will be present, and we share this information with a plan, a map, how to reach our offices, which door and corridors to take. It's just a detail, of course, but when you are a new person and you are a bit nervous about everything which can happen on an interview day, which is very important, it makes people feel more comfortable, and therefore people feeling more comfortable are better achievers in their job interviews, which is not the case if you are stressed or nervous. So we try to limit barriers to entry with such small details. This is concretely what we're doing today. Right, when it comes to training now, do you have a continuous training strategy for your workforce? Because, as we've said, technologies and practices evolve. So when we start a new job, whatever the sector, you have to update your skills and knowledge. Do you have any partnership, or do you make self-training yourself? What do you do? How does it work? Sorry, I just sneezed. Well, no, we don't have all this in place because, as David said, we are a very fresh new company, less than 1 year old. So it's really a step-by-step approach. We only have 3 wage earners or employees for the moment. So what we do we work on the soft skills. We also learn on the spot to be a good manager, of course. Managers tend to be seen as a promotion, but it's not about being promoted to a manager. Either you can or you can't be a manager. So now we have employees and they have to manage teams because we have interns, and by the way, from Ozart and from, well, everywhere. So it's a bit difficult to manage teams, and we try to give them tools to develop their soft skills and to mentor themselves or mentor their interns, for example, and we also have us to manage them. Well, a junior profile will not necessarily say that he wants to learn a new skill, but he's not going to do it during the working time, but during his spare time. But it is still possible. We organize tasks for people to learn new skills on the job. And then we also have time allocated for knowledge sharing, which can be used to learn something, and it leads to a presentation of 5 minutes on what you have learned, so that the whole team can also learn from this. But we try to break the codes and the barriers according to which artists and designers and every specific trade has their own knowledge. No, we try to share knowledge between trains within a same hub and beyond. Yes, and for example, if you take the marketing in former experiences with David, the production team were very disconnected with what's happening marketing-wise. They have no idea where their work is going to end up. So we like to make them understand what is the goal or the purpose of marketing and why it's important when we sell a video game. Right, thank you very much indeed for your intervention. Now I invite Fabien Maguin, Alderman in charge of Employment Affairs, Smart City Brussels, is going to talk about the importance of action and implication of public authorities to help develop a video game sector and talk about Brussels City strategy on these topics. You have the floor, Mr. Alderman. Well, yes, thank you very much indeed to you and to the former speaker for the very interesting presentations. Well, I'm in charge of smart cities, the challenge of digital development, and also employment and economic affairs, because video games industry is a very important economic sector, and then it leads to this issue of training for jobs. You are all specialized in this, but the economic stakes are very high, with turnover higher than music and cinema together in terms of employment. That's a lot. We've talked about it. Belgium has its own dimension. It is also an important challenge, about 1,000 jobs, maybe 200 active companies in this area. So there is also, it's also important for public authorities to be there in terms of economic development or IT development or IT sphere in our society, and training. And also the stakes of training is also very clear to me. As I often say, video games is transversal in our society. I used to be a geek when I had time to play video games. At the time, if I was offered a job in the video game industry, I would have jumped on it. Of course, now I followed another pathway. But many people in life are looking for a vocation or a professional development. And there are so many needs in the tech industry and also in the video game industry. So video games industry can serve the purpose of a window to showcase the tech jobs. Today, we need digital marketing, for example. These are jobs in which growth outlook are enormous for our companies. So I believe that public authorities must take an interest into this sector, which is future-based, future-oriented, and economically very important. And then, yes, specificity of trades of video games. And as was said, we need Swiss knives. You won't become just a game designer or video games creator. The profiles in video games usually don't start as IT specialists, and it comes along the way. So in Brussels City, we really want to make sure that our region and our city can take these turns and take those future outlooks to our young citizens, and we want to help to this training. Christina Galouzis told you already what the region does within a digital city, but what we want to do is to position the city as an urban hub in this dynamic of video game training opportunities. The city already has very good training centers. Within our art school, Saint-Luc, we have a specialized training in digital skills. We also have another specialized curriculum on video games. We have very broad digital trainings for outside of the school curriculum. In Brussels, we have many people who don't have an training. They are dropouts of school, and we want to put them back on the professional way, and video game industry is a very good way to go. We also have in Wallonia specialized schools in on video games in Mons, Liège, Namur. So today we have a full pathway of training, and for us, what is at stake, and for a municipality like mine, would be to create the first step to this training pathway, and then create the linkages with the companies. Make sure to through standard trainings and on-the-job trainings, how can we try to reconnect with job seekers, young people who are drop out of school or looking for a new pathway, trying to hook them back to such sectors. And we know that the company is looking for talents which are in shortage. And this is what we're working on in the city of Brussels.
Intervention très enrichissante. Alors, pour
Thank
conclure,
you for this very interesting intervention. We now have a couple of minutes for questions. But before that, if you have questions yourselves, it's the right time to share them. I will ask Jean-Luc Robin, who is a true specialist and spokesperson for the video game industry in Belgium, to take the floor. After listening to the debates we've had, do you have something to add? Anything to stress, namely on the work carried out in Belgium? Over to you, Jean. Yes, I don't know if it works. Do you hear me? Yes, we do, loud and clear. Perfect. Hi, everyone. This has been uttermost interesting, and thank you to the different speakers who have taken the floor today. I can only agree with what has been said, so I won't repeat what has been said. As coordinator for the video gaming industry in Wallonia, well, our job has mainly been to work on training. I can tell you that we see that talents flee. We see there are many stakes related to inclusivity. This is a word we should use much more. And as the elderman has said, we need more mixity. We need to bring these talents to the industry. I think that we are at a turning point. We've had some difficult years. The sector wasn't recognized, but today, after years of political advocacy, working on funding for audiovisual gaming and triggering the different levels which are pivotal for jobs. Well, here I think that we've made progress, and Thomas talked about the Charleroi, but next year we'll have the Game Week organized by GameMax and others, and different topics, namely training, will be tackled over a panel, and on Friday we will have another session aiming at the future. Now the question is to know how we can bring these profiles to the industry, how we can have more mixity. The first point is the root causes. Parents themselves, they tend to have a huge impact, not to mention schools before higher education. And indeed, some profiles are guided one way, while other profiles are guided another way. And feminine profiles are put on the side way, which is wrong to do. Then, when a kid goes to their parents and says, I want to do a master in gaming, well, this tends to make them get cold feet, and we need to work on their mentality as well to progress. Today, many are affected by gaming. Only the people who don't game are not aware of that. And the use of games indeed leads to employment as well. There are trainings, there is socioeconomic innovation, there are cultural innovations, and we need to work on that for culture. The different engines, the different competences are used also for other industries, for audiovisual, for medicine, for medical imagery. And I think that it is only the very beginning of all the potential we could tap into when it comes to the potential of gaming industry has to offer. Then for years time, I've had the opportunity to work in this industry with passionate people, and as a consequence, well, obviously we wish to work with as many as possible for a bright future for our industry, and I won't be any longer. Thank you, Jean. We just have time for one tiny question. I see one in the question and answer blog, but it was for Julien, but unfortunately he's had to leave. I see someone is writing an answer. So I will ask one last question to anyone who wishes to answer. To you, how is it possible to develop a partnership between France and Belgium to develop our own trainings and go further? Jean or anyone from the training side? Over to you. And if there is nothing to say, no worries. I see Jean-Philippe has opened his mic. Yes, I can very briefly say something. Indeed, I think there are pathways and we should explore them with the students, especially during the very first years of their training in middle education. It is in the secondary education that we need to work, and this is true for all industries actually. And we should pay attention to that level to avoid, well, the digital divide and to open up as much as possible to these very different profiles so that then later on in the training and in the studio we can have as many different people as possible. We can have different types of inputs, and this is pivotal to have true diversity. So in consequence, we need to work with the different stakeholders. This is pivotal. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Well, it looks like it's okay for everyone. So let me now give the floor to Embassy so that they can move on with the second part. Thank you for following us. And the report of Digital City is on digitalcity.brussels. Thank you again. Thank you, Christina. Thank you to this bright, fabulous first panel. Thank you for their intervention. We have understood how important it is indeed to take into account the stakes of training and professionalization. And with the Embassy of France in the Netherlands, in France and Luxembourg and Switzerland, we, in Belgium rather, we know that it goes through partnerships between higher education institutes which offer gaming training. And I will give the floor to Frédéric Beaumont, who works at the Embassy of France in Belgium, and he will moderate the different pitches of Belgian, French, Swiss, and Dutch training institutions. Fred, are you online? I am, and I hope you hear me loud and clear. Perfect. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you for presenting me. My title is so long that it's a pitch in itself. Anyhow, so welcome to this pitch. And as the previous sequence, it will be multilingual. I myself, I will speak in French, but I hope that everyone will understand me, especially our colleagues who speak English. I hope you do copy the interpreters. Very briefly, the education training is pivotal. The previous speakers have explained it brilliantly. And the upcoming panel this morning reflects Europe, its diversity, its cultural diversity, its different approaches. And at the same time, there are approaches which are complementary. Mobility in between countries is pivotal. And this is what we are about to talk here with these speeches. 4 minutes each. We'll ask you to go to the point, because indeed 4 minutes is a strict model. Talk about your offer for training and talk about the opportunities of cooperation with the different institutions, with different countries, which are here represented in this webinar. Now, let's give the floor to Dominique Perronnet, Director of Artifacts in Montpellier. Dominique, over to you. Yes, hello. I am delighted to be here with you, to be part of this webinar, to represent the Artifacts School of Digital Arts in France. I started here in this industry over 25 years ago with a program. This is an industry I know very well, and I am deeply involved on the different topics we've mentioned until now. Let me present this school. Artifix is a school which is internationally well known in the different industries: special effects, 3D animation, game design, gaming, and development. Here, a tiny video to present the school.
Voilà, donc Artefix est aujourd'hui une école.
So Artifix is a school which is on different campus. We have the campus of Montpellier. We also have one in Lille at the Plaine Image and another one in Paris in Enghien-les-Bains. And today we have over 850 students coming from different areas. We have 120 students coming from some 40 different countries. Oh, sorry. So we are recognized RNCP level 7, and our training is on 5 years' time. We have generalist skills development over 3 years' time. We work on 2D animation, 3D character animation, game art, and design and development. And then we work on expertise development in year 4 and 5 and work on professionalization. Today, we have also a network of 900 alumni. This is important to our students. There is an international network they can rely on. Here you have a few examples of games, because we talk a lot about games on which our students work. And finally, we are a school which is open to the outer world, and we have many partnerships with the industry, and we try to develop synergies on the ecosystem related to our industries. We are continuously developing partnerships on schooling because collective intelligence is pivotal. We work with other schools and we tackle different challenges, namely recruiting talents. And yes, we have many exchanges on that. Then on the different possibilities of developing partnerships on digital arts, we have created a fund for digital arts, and this will allow us on the one hand to give access to students who may miss out because they think these trainings are too expensive. This will also allow to develop together pedagogical tools to carry projects forward, to also work with companies and students to try out new tech. We also wish to work on tomorrow's techniques and technologies, and we have a lab in that sense. We have also developed a team to think about the future of technologies. We have a think tank on the jobs. And finally, we have the Dream Lab for new tools and new users. And we work with stakeholders from the industry. And this fund is open to anyone who wishes to share on these topics, which will be pivotal in our future. If indeed we want to answer the industry's needs. That's it. I try to be as fast as possible. I hope I respected the 4 minutes. It's perfect. Good. Good, Dominique. I think that you summarized all of this very well. We have understood the ambitions of your school and your contribution to the strategy of the industry at the level of trainings, but also on, well, everything that is related to the stakes, the economic stakes. So again, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And this video was quite impressive. We have all been flabbergasted, if I may say. Well, these are mainly images we produce at school. This comes from our kids. Wonderful. I will now ask Christophe Ladureux, well, to present the Albert Jacquard High School, even though it doesn't need an introduction in Belgium because it is recognized, very prestigious. Without further ado, over to you, Christophe. Thank you. Let me share my screen. There we go. Do you see the screen? Yes, we do.
Oui, c'est bon.
It's okay. Thank you. So now we will talk about the trainings we organize at Albert Jacquard in the gaming industry. And thank you for saying that we are a prestigious establishment. So in a nutshell, to respect those 4 minutes, we have two programs which are being developed parallelly. First, we have a bachelor, which is a pro bachelor. We have been offering it for over 20 years' time. And I will talk about the different possibilities in the framework of this bachelor in just a sec. And we also have a brand new master, 3 years plus 2 years, with a theoretical bachelor first. And it just started. So for the pro bachelor, this is the historic bachelor we have always been offering at Albert Jacquard with game art, game animation, and tech art. We train infographists specialized in high-level graphs. This is what gives us our fame. And for some years' time, we indeed wanted to go a step further. And quite logically, after hearing the first part of this webinar, we decided to professionalize even more, to have one extra layer on gaming training, because indeed we realized that infographics was not sufficient. And as a consequence, we've been able to launch our first master in September. This master's degree has a 360-degree vision on gaming. Beyond technicalities and graphs, we focus on other dimensions, marketing, namely, which has been mentioned earlier. Furthermore, we work on game design, and we also focus on programming and everything that is related to AI, and it's quite topical. Over those 5 years' time, our students have this common training, and then they have 5 possibilities to specialize themselves and to develop their own competences so that, well, they can differentiate themselves when it comes to the labor markets. They have game design, game art, tech art, game studies, and programming. Game art and game studies are co-organized with UCL and programming with UMONS, and this gives a certificate in AI for students who would be interested by AI. And game studies, as I have said, is with UC Louvain. And we can tell you that as of September 2023, we will also have a partnership with each EPL for a second bachelor, which will be in Liège. But the same type of training. That's it for the master's degree. Now, let me talk now about, well, the different proposals on partnerships. We are already doing quite a lot of stuff, but we are open-minded, and creating a master is a good lever we should trigger. First, the Erasmus program with in and out students. This is pivotal, but also in and out teachers. Erasmus allows for exchanges with teachers, and I think that we have partnerships with the different schools around the table, but we could reinforce our programs. Then we need to organize joint conferences, webinars as well. We are lucky, thanks to the masters, well, to have quite a lot of fame, and as a consequence, we have foreign speakers who are interested in coming. We have many people coming from France next year. We are also deeply involved in academic game jam. This is part of our training, actually, and beyond the game jams in Belgium. And we encourage our students to be part of the game jams in Belgium. And recently, they took part in the Belgian Japanese game jams. And there is another project we are working on with France in that matter. Then, during the master's degree, we are quite practical, meaning that there are always games to develop every year, as of the very first year. And we would like to work with foreign students and organize workshops, remote game development workshops, because, well, today that's how the industry works as well. This would be interesting. We would like to invite colleagues from other countries to our end of year juries as well. Our students are trained to pitching, and every workshop, every game which is made must be pitched at the end of the year in front of juries. And having colleagues from abroad coming is interesting, and it would be good to everyone, actually, especially good for the students. And then, if we opened a master, it is also because we wanted to offer the possibility to students to then work on PhD and research and development programs. What's more, we wanted to develop internal research at the Haute École High School. We have several projects on AI, namely, and on design. And obviously, we are open to any types of partnership on these matters in research. In the upcoming weeks, we will be developing a lab for extended reality, and we will also have an interface to analyze games. We will equip computers with different sensors so that, well, we can carry out these research. We are also open to partnerships on research. That's it. That's it. I think I've said it all, and I hope I respected these 4 minutes. Maybe I've been a bit longer. Anyway, thank you. Thank you, Christophe, and thank you for this presentation, which focused on the topic of this webinar, the cooperation possibilities in Europe. Some of your colleagues will have the possibility to get back to you, namely on research, because this is very important at your school. Again, thank you for your presentation. It has been crystal clear. Thank you. And now, without further ado, I will give the floor to Doris Boschman, who represents Game Lab Bosman, TU Delft. Thank you.
Hi.
And he's not done. Well, over to you anyway.
to explain, you were a part of the University of Technology of Delft.
Yes.
And now you can express yourself, please.
Okay, let me share the screen. There we go. So hi, I'm Doris, and I'm part of the Game Lab at the Technology Policy and Management faculty of the Technical University of Delft, which is a bit of a mouthful. But the TU of Delft is mostly, well, experienced with technical studies such as aerospace and industrial design, computer science and physics. We don't have a master or bachelor's in game design specifically, but almost all of the faculties have something to do with, have some course or electives to do with gaming or incorporated in their courses. At TPM, for example, we have a game design course which focuses on serious games, where students from all the different faculties and all the different talents and interpretations come together, and in 10 weeks they design a mostly board game for actual clients from outside or inside the TU Delft. And at computer science, it's more focused on the programming side of games. Aside from the student electives, we have various professors that focus on games as well. Here we go. Next, yes. So some focus on the technical side, the VR, the AI, the programming, but we at the Game Lab focus on the serious side of games. So we do research with games, and we make games to conduct research with, or as an outcome of the research, or for teaching about research or any other topic actually. And we make digital games as well as board or tabletop games or card games. We do this in collaboration with researchers from this faculty, from our university, or outside, or sometimes even with companies. The important part for us is that we're not commercial. So any game we're making is, well, teaching or research focused, and it would be perfect if we can write a paper about it, because we like papers at the university. So that's a bit about the Game Lab. We're not a company and we're not a study, but we're a bit in between a research lab. So these are some of the games we made, so digital as well as board games. Sometimes we do it in Dutch and national projects. Others are international via Erasmus Plus projects, for example. So we're almost always open for new collaborations. We have a small team of game designers and project leaders, but we often extend these with the use of various students from the various faculties that help us out with creating these games. And it's a very nice collaboration, and we also help them with thesis projects or other study projects where they need their expertise. If you're interested, you can look up the theoretic game design method, because that's one of the methods we use a lot for the serious games, and creates very nice games. For our collaboration, we had a pitch or a project we are working on, because Julie David from Niehurst in Trinidad and Tobago, they came to us with a question a couple of years ago. They developed a program. Well, we talked a bit about it today, to teach students and get them more ready for the company work or the corporate work world. But this course is actually aimed at high school students to prepare them for the game design studies. So it's a step further even, where they want to let computer science or informatica teachers at high schools teach them a bit about game design. But as it turns out, those teachers are not as equipped as they thought with this program, and they are looking for a way to, well, teach those teachers and create trainings and workshops to make sure that they are fully equipped to teach the students and later on other teachers that also want to incorporate this. At the TU Delft, we're working with physics as well, which has a whole education program. So we have some information on serious games, game design, some programming and education, but we are looking for a second university that can complement our knowledge, especially with the games in the entertainment industry and the different programs and development. Since at the Game Lab, we mostly make very developed prototypes rather than commercial ready products. It's an Erasmus Plus project, which means we need a second university as well, which cannot be part of the Netherlands because it needs to be different countries as part of the requirements. And the proposal will be sent in February next year, so 2024, which means the project would start at the end of 2024, and then we would teach the teachers, or that's expected planning in the summer of 2025. Maybe in Trinidad and Tobago, but that's all up for discussion. So if you are interested, please contact me or at the Game Lab. I have the email on the screen. And that's very short on what we do at the TU Delft and the Game Lab specifically. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doris. It's extremely interesting, especially the opportunity to go in Trinidad and Tobago, if I understood well. So
yeah, maybe we can make a vacation out of it. But it's at the Netherlands, we also find it very nice because we want to use this project also at the high schools over here to prep them for university ideas and directions.
I will switch in French now. Yes. Juste pour donc rappeler que. Just recall that this project is indeed very interesting under the Technological University of Delft. The serious games you developed and your project on this field, maybe just 1 minute about it, because it's really interesting. I think nobody had this approach till now.
Yeah, the serious game approach, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not a gamification. We really make games, but they have different purposes. So sometimes it's to gather data on what people would do in certain situations. Simulation to get the conversation started, let them test out theories and see what works in a very safe environment. Okay, thank you. So now we are going to on va accueillir la représentante. We are going to welcome the representative of the school Rubika, which is a well-known institution in France and abroad. Nathalie Cole, representing this institution. You are going to tell us about your trainings, and just like the other participants, also the collaboration perspectives at the international level. And let me recall that after this exercise, all participants will have access to the contact details of all speakers. And then, of course, we will have a Q&A session. Mrs. Paul, you have the floor. Hello, I am going to share my screen. I hope it's going to work. It usually don't when it's supposed to. Okay, so I am Nathalie Ball. I'm in charge of company relations for sub-info game Rubika since September, but it's been about 20 years that I work in the industry. I was press attaché in the past for editors and development companies, so I knew the far west of video games when, at the time, schools were just starting on this path. So Supinfo game then came about. It was created a previous actor. This works within the frame of a brand, Rubika, a part on design, a part on game, and also a part on animation. So we are going to go very quickly. My job is to create connections between companies and schools.
We have 3 curriculum in our institution with a common curriculum in preparation, and then we have a game art preparation, 1 game design and 1 game programming curricula, with a diploma recognized by the state, by the Ministry for Education. What else could I tell you? Well, the Rubika School is 3,500 alumni in the world. We have about 90% of our students who find a job when they finish the training, which is quite encouraging. Our goal is to continue on this path and to be as close to companies as possible, and to listen to them and to be reactive, which is also why many of our teachers and lecturers come from the working life, from the industry. So very quickly, I'll tell you what we want to reach, the goal we want to achieve. At the middle of this graph, you have reciprocity, so that is exchange. We want to work on education curriculum based on the needs of the industry, so all new trades, new technologies. We work with teacher researchers, with programming engineers, also maybe work in engineering schools. People would like to turn into real video game professionals. Then we also try to work on producing an intellectual property diploma, so that would be with law schools. This is the kind of approach very interesting with the new intellectual property and new licenses. We also want to create pathways with the double diplomas, was explained earlier. Try to find in programming school people who want to get specialized in video games, and also host foreign students more than today, because we already do it today. So that's it for this small presentation. If you have any question, I'm available to answer. I try to be short and to the point. Thank you very much indeed, Nathalie, for this presentation. You laid emphasis on something very much important indeed in cooperation action between the 2 states. It's the issue of the double diplomas. It's a real added value from your institution, and you have a lot of experience in this specific field. Your reputation precedes you since 1988, and I'm speaking the truth here, of course. Now I am going to give the floor to Ali Wise. She's going to intervene in English for the OS institution, also first-line actor of video games training in the Netherlands, in the Dutch-speaking community of Belgium. Go ahead, Ali.
Good morning, everyone. Great to see you all. Thank you for listening to me in English. I'm a native English speaker. I work in Belgium, but I am originally from the United States. So thanks so much for listening. Let me share my screen. Alrighty, I'm super honored to be able to present the institution that I currently work at, Hoest Hogeschool Digital Arts and Entertainment, which is located in Kortrijk, Belgium, right on the border with France. Of course, we are located right in the heart of Europe. This is definitely a selling point for international students that choose to study at digital arts and entertainment. At Hoest, we commonly call it DIE. So I'll refer to the institution as DIE from now on throughout this presentation. Definitely a selling point for our students who are coming from other countries, which there are a lot of, and I'll get to that a little bit later in the presentation. Also, I'll try to respect as much as I can the 4-minute rule. So if I go fast, my apologies. We have been voted so gratefully the #1 game design and development school in the world, not just once, but 3 times. So in 2017, 2018, and most recently in 2021. This past year, we scored 2nd place. So not 1st place, but still very grateful to be ranked #2 in the world by the rookies. We've existed since 2006, so it is. We offer at this stage 6 different majors. So we train technical artists in our game graphics production major. We also have a more programming heavy, technically heavy game development curriculum. We have visual effects and animation. So although we are catered closely towards the game community, we also offer majors for those looking into joining the film community as well. We also have independent game production for those looking to be a jack of all trades and learn a little bit of everything, a little bit of programming, marketing, communications, and also technical art. We have an interactive sound production major as well, which is our newest offer at our institution. So definitely looking to work in the audio elements there. We have alumni working all over. So we have both alumni who are in Belgium, but we also have alumni in France, the Netherlands, the US, the UK, Germany, Canada, really all over. Something that's really unique to DIE as well is that in all 6 of our majors, the curriculum is offered in both English and in Dutch. Both curriculums are very well populated, but I must say that the English curriculum is more and more so popular. I think also a large part of this is because of the sheer amount of international students also who are now enrolled in the program. Just to give you an idea, this past year, we had 300 international students in the 1st year of digital arts and entertainment. So actually, since this presentation's construction, it has gone up in number, which is definitely a wonderful thing to see and definitely adds to the international vibe, inclusivity of the community. I just mentioned the community, and that's also a very large part of our institution. Of course, we are a technical institution. The curriculum is quite demanding, but with the fact that it's a heavy curriculum, demanding curriculum, we emphasize the importance of community. There's weekly study nights on our campus every Thursday evening where students can study together, work together. You see here a picture of our Global Taste Affair, which is an event that happens every 1st Thursday of the semester, both in the fall and in the spring. And at this event, our international students and local students come together and they actually cook foods from their home countries, whether that be Belgium, whether that be France, the Netherlands, or beyond. And yes, students gather together, they meet each other for the first time, connect with each other. It's a wonderful evening. We have student-led workouts and workshops, game and film jams once or twice a year. This year, we're actually coming up on our 2nd game jam in just next week, so that'll be very exciting. So in a nutshell, community is very important at our institution. Like I mentioned before, there are 6 majors. I'll go ahead quickly. I do want to play our trailer if it works. And all of these characters, environments, and so on are created by our students. Alrighty. Something interesting as well to mention is during the last semester of the third year for our students, they go on internship. It's a mandatory internship for all of our students. And our students, they stay in Belgium. They also go abroad. They go to France, the Netherlands, Germany. So common companies that they go to are Ubisoft, Black Forest in Germany, massive Studio Gobo in the UK, Electric Square in the UK, just naming a few off the top of my head. And these are projects that students have worked on during their internship experiences. And quite often, when our students do, they graduate, they complete the study, they actually stay at the company that they interned at, and they begin their career with that same company. Again, a very heavy international focus for us. Something that we also like to emphasize is the collaboration with companies and externals. So we have often guest speakers and company visits during project weeks, workshops, but I do want to highlight, which could also be an interesting collaboration opportunity, is our Unwrap Festival. So starting from last year, so we just had our second edition in October, we have a festival called Unwrap, and it's located here in Kortrijk in West Flanders. And its focus is bridging the digital entertainment community with the music industry, the film industry, so really all of the audiovisual industries, bridging them together, finding ways that we can collaborate and build bridges there. We've invited professionals from Xbox, for example. We had someone as a keynote speaker who was the writer for Call of Duty. And so we had a lot of these really great professionals come in and speak to their experience among the students. So my job, I personally focus on ethics in games and in digital entertainment. So I was on a panel, for example, about ethics in the metaverse and ethics in VR. We also have a very strong, so we have our education, our 6 major programs. We also have our research department, which is a crucial element, a really crucial cell, we like to say, of DIE. We have applied research projects depending on what the demand is at the time, and of course, government funding as well. And a significant amount of our lecturers as well, they actually do decide to take the time and actually hop on the research team and follow a study for some time. So research is definitely important for us. We have students as well during their internship, sometimes working on research projects within DIE itself. Something that's not in this presentation, but I think interesting to note, is we do have an incubator called DIE Studios, and it's right across the street from our main campus of digital arts and entertainment. And so it's a bit of a spin-off from DIE, where we actually host new growing indie companies who are really just starting off, and they would like some guidance, some mentorship in terms of how to get their project going, releasing their first game, and so on. So we give them the space right across the street in a building called Hangar K, where they can, have their incubator time for up to 12 months. So these are the kinds of the things that we're working on at the moment. So of course, Metaverse, XR, mocap, procedural 3D, ethics, scanning, photo, procedural 3D, I just mentioned, spatial computing and sound, AI, definitely a very hot topic given the AI generated art story. DIE alumni, as I mentioned before, we have alumni working all over. We have alumni in Belgium, in Ghent, in Brussels, in Mons, in Bologna as well. What we are looking for in terms of collaboration and partnerships, we are mostly open to all. So Erasmus programs for our students, ingoing and outgoing, also possible staff exchanges. So we're really open to anything. we also, so I mentioned that my job specifically talks about ethics in games and digital entertainment. So there is a live stream series that we host from Digital Arts and Entertainment. We actually created a streaming studio during Corona, so it was during 2020. And every month we tackle a different ethically relevant topic. So for example, this month we will be covering AI generated art. And so I always love to have international faces within the stream as well, people from different institutions around Europe and so on. And so if you do a quick Google search, it's called Game for Thought, is the live stream series that we have going on a monthly basis. And we love to have other faces from Europe on that stream as panelists, as guest speakers, and so on. So that's another route that we would love to see collaboration. I think I went over the 4 minutes. I'm quite positive, but thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Ali. I will switch in French, but
Frédéric?
Yep.
Oops, sorry. Just there is a question regarding the languages in the chat. So you have the possibility to ask your questions either in French or in English in the chat, and we will make sure to answer afterwards. So there's a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and you can ask your questions there in French or in English, and we can answer.
Thank you. Thank you. Charlotte is my kind of big brother. So she's in charge with, you see, this kind of details. So thank you very much, Charlotte. I switch in French now. Juste pour préciser que merci beaucoup, Ali.
Thank you very much indeed, Ali, for talking about cultural integration of students within your institution. This is a key question because all your institution host a great diversity of students when the curriculum either be it in French or English. So thank you for laying emphasis on this. And then on the issue of alumni, the majors can that we have in our embassies a program to support alumni. So we are at your service if you need any support in this. Now I will give the floor to the next speaker, Azat Luzbaronian, Director of Development at ISART Digital. We have a lot of prestigious institutions today. I'm not go back to the ranking. I guess that Azat is going to talk about this, but we are honored to welcome you, Azat, today. I give you the floor.
Context. So sorry for my French. My name is Azat Luzbaronian. I've been working in the CG animation industry a long time ago and for 15 years almost. Then I jumped in the education process, and I had the privilege to be the director of the campus of Montreal, because ISART Digital has been created more than 20 years ago now, and we do have a campus in France, in Paris, but as well in Canada, in Montreal, and we are opening a campus in the south of France next September. It's a business school. I will say a few words about it. And we also have a strong collaboration with Japan. So we have the possibility for our students to travel all around the world and to experience different kind of production, different kind of culture. And we think it's very important for our students to open their minds on this kind of subject, especially for the video game industry. So a few words about our alumni network. So more than 2,000 alumni spread all over the world with a highly employable rate of 94% 6 months after the graduation. So our graduated students worked in different kind of studios, video games, CG animation, VFX in different countries, and we are very proud for them, and we are very proud as well for our teacher who accompanied them during the whole curriculum. And a few words about the recognition from the different kind of institution, professional institution, like the Unity Awards, like the SIGGRAPH, and a few examples of video game projects you can find on our website. I invite you to go to the gallery of the website to download the video games of our students, to test it. You will see there is a lot of different kind of styles of projects, mobile, console, PC. So our students have the ability to experiment a lot of different kind of projects. And some of them are spotted by the publishers who comes to the graduation jury. Each year we have projects that have the chance to be chosen by publishers to push them beyond the graduation project. And for some of them, it's a real opportunity to launch their own business, their own company, because at Isart Digital, we do have an incubator. To help the students to go forward and to push their project beyond. And we are very proud of this. So you have few examples here of video game projects that basically were graduation projects. So we understood that we have three different universes. We have creativity, we have technical, and we have now a business school. So the whole ecosystem of the video game industry is covered by Isart Digital. We have people working on the ideas, on the concept. We have people working on techniques. And now we have students who are going to work on the marketing, the publishing. And the main idea for our students is to work together in a collaborative process, wherever they are in the world, whether they are in Paris, Nice, Montreal. So the idea is to collaborate, to connect, and to work in a remote process with different kind of language, like you have the industry working today. So for the flow chart, you know, it's a basic stuff. It's a 3+2 model. And for Paris and Nice, in Montreal, it's shorter because the Quebecois system is quite different, but this is the same competencies, the same skills, and diplomas are the same. We have recognized diplomas for France, like RNCP, RNCP niveau 7. And in Montreal, this is a Québécois diplomas. So this is attestation d'études collégiales. So as I mentioned before, our students have the possibility to switch between different competencies. And for the pedagogical approach, it's very pragmatic. All the staff comes from the industry, whereas for video games or film. So the students have the chance to be accompanied by a whole team of professionals. And we have a huge team inside the school, but we also work with a lot of different specialists outside of the school. And being a higher education institution, we defend some values, as you can see: engagement, ethic, diversity, inclusiveness, and we are we take care a lot about our students in school, but also during their internships outside the school. We do have a research department as well, so our students have the opportunity to work on several kinds of projects during the curriculum. We have two main axes: game data and AI, and games for social impact. So here you have a few examples of what we did before in collaboration with Dauphine Université in Paris, and as well with Sorbonne Université in archaeological simulation data, and for mental health as well with Université Côte d'Azur to work on different kind of projects. And to sum up, so you understood it, Isart Digital is a wonderful place to experiment, to collaborate, and to work together. So if you want to collaborate with us, please feel free to contact me anytime, and I will be very happy to share a discussion with you. So I tried to keep it short and sweet. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup Azad. Merci aussi d'avoir mis l'accent sur une partie de votre présentation, sur notamment la question.
Thank you for laying emphasis on the emotional impact or psychological impact of video games. It is also something which is neglected or that is less known by the wider public. It opens collaboration avenues in the area of research, which are also very important. Thank you very much indeed, Azad. And now I am going to give the floor to Isaac Ponte, is the representative of Switzerland in this panel. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. You have a unique experience in this area, a great career in literature, and you are a founding member of this research group of Lausanne University. Thank you very much indeed.
J'ai une connexion un peu compliquée.
So do you all hear me? Because my connection isn't that good, and I'm not in Switzerland, I'm in Paris. Anyway, I'm delighted to be here with you. So let me move on to the presentation mode and talk about the context about our universe, which is quite peculiar. I'm Isaac Ponte, and I work for the Department of Sciences of Languages and Information. So we are a faculty of humanities, meaning that we work mainly with students who have very different pathways, walks of life. And this department exists since 1992. And it mainly aimed at working on statistics for text, for space and speech synthesis. And since 2016, with the integration of the Game Lab of UNIL EPFL, a group of researchers who decided to focus on gaming objects to study them, well, the department started and transformed and became stronger and focused more and more on gaming. In Switzerland, we are lucky because public authorities felt it was important to support this kind of initiative, first for general transition towards digital ET, and then since 2018 in a report we've worked on cultural development, and so we are well supported. Furthermore, we meet or rather face issues related to challenges. People don't come to letters to the humanities to do math, and we need to teach them that actually there are many different things to do. We talked about diversity, and this is key to us. You also talked a lot about jacks of all trades or Swiss knives, and this is very important. And indeed, we know that we cannot develop engineers. We know that we won't develop full profiles in game design, but as we have seen, that we can craft a very peculiar profile with a very high added value. And we see it with our students and alumni. We also talked about the percentages, and as we are in this faculty, we have many women and people who work on English, IT, and so on and so forth. Our department decided to focus on three axes: computer analysis of video games with a strong math axis. Then we also work on the heritage conservation of games heritage, because we produce a lot but do not preserve a lot. And then we want an approach where there is research and creation, because sometimes people are not in line with reality, and we want, well, people will to develop things that can work in real life. As an academy, we also organize symposiums, international symposiums, which give us the opportunity to work with colleagues from France and France, Belgium, and all world Francophonie, also people from Canada. And many of these symposiums are available on YouTube, and I invite you to check them out. We tackle all things: human sciences, psychology. And with the game lab, we decided to, well, have the widest scope possible. We also work on research, and with Yannick Rochat, professor at our department, we have this study which aims at making progress on, well, the issue of preservation of Swiss games, but we also want to define general rules to preserve this heritage in the widest sense of the term. We also are production partners on some projects which aim at transferring knowledge or at mediating elements. Here you can see work carried out with the College of Humanities of EPFL, with Yannick Rocha and some of our students who worked on how to transfer this knowledge, and also of well, mediation tools which can go to all the schools. We work a lot on education and also at the federal level, not only at the local level. What are our targets? Well, we want to see video games as cultural objects and computational tools. We want to share the methods, but also share engineering competences. The aim is to produce discourses or elements which are influenced by these two walks of life. I did like what was said this morning on diversity and on crossing points of view. This is pivotal to us, and expertise sometimes reach its limits. And thanks to such profiles, we can build bridges and fill gaps thanks to improved communication, and this can improve the working of any working team. We have a bachelor and master in IT for human sciences. We have a master for digital humanities, and we also have lifelong learning courses. Here, video gaming in Switzerland history archives. We also have fun math. We also have interactive fiction. We develop 2D games, and VR, very important to us. So what can we produce? Researchers in critical code studies, researchers on links between IT and humanities and more general things. Then people who will work in cultural institutions, people working for preservation of the heritage. And then for the industry of gaming, well, we can have indeed students who decide to work there, students who didn't directly opt for this walk of life, but they can indeed provide something very amazing to the industry, not to mention consultants. Here you can see a student who won a junior game award for a game he developed by himself with his own technologies. Now, a few of our partnerships with several universities, as you can see on the screen. I won't mention them all. And also with art school. I was a few days ago at Benjamin to be part of the jury. And yes, we want to build such ties. Finally, on the partnerships you are looking for, well, we want exchanges in between institutions, and we want joint research programs for the industry. We want to research and create together, and also find pathways for our students. We have a student who just arrived with Paradox Interactive, and they are very happy. And then politically speaking, we want to have a social impact through our research and be part of regulating the industry and work with Consumers Federation and, well, all the stakeholders with the loot box and so on. That was quite a lot and not that much at the same time. So here you have bit.ly. You can check out with everything I just introduced quite quickly. That's it. Thank you. Thank you ever so much, Isaac. I won't get back on all these points you have mentioned. It was really interesting, and indeed, involving students is important, especially when they come from humanities and social studies. This is important on the question you mentioned, the one of preservation, the heritage of games. Indeed, it looks like that indeed nowadays we are doing as at the beginning of the cinema, when they lost 90% because, well, at the beginning of this industry, they didn't want to record everything as seriously as we do today with cultural goods. So, thank you. I will now give the floor to Charlotte. Well, thank you to all of you for these interventions. The aim of this pitch session was to understand everything to see how training is structured in your different schools, because there are very different practices. And from there on, for all participants, we wanted to see how you are complementary to each other in building partnerships. So before reaching the conclusions, there was one question on the chat.
Limiting international exchange in education, c'est une question qui peut s'appliquer à l'ensemble de nos intervenants.
This question is valid for all the speakers, so I don't know if amongst our speakers anyone wishes to answer this question.
Ali avait par exemple
Ali, you provided the beginning of an answer, so over to you, maybe.
Sure. So I was it's a great question, by the way, and also a question that we've been mentally tackling for some time now. Of course, we receive a lot of international students to our institution, local students as well. And historically, we've seen that, yes, a lot of them then leave and they go abroad. What we find really important is supporting our indie developers or independent game developers here at home. What's also very important is our incubator, so our DIE studios, we call it, that supports freshly graduated students, young students looking to start their own companies, and we give them the resources, the tools to do so at home. So supporting them that way and supporting the indie developers in that regard is definitely important. Also, I think it's not to be undermined, the importance of marketing and clear communication of opportunities that are available in your own region. Because a lot of the times we market exchange opportunities, which are wonderful, and I think it's still very important, but in terms of work opportunities in the field, it's also very important to highlight those to your students clearly and transparently. So we're still trying to answer that question ourselves, but those are, I think, two elements that, in my own experience and seeing things myself, also having students do their internships within Belgium, for example, is quite, I guess, beneficial against the brain drain. It's a really good question, though.
Absolutely. Est-ce que les collègues
So, do our French colleagues or Swiss colleagues or Dutch colleagues wish to add anything to provide their input? I think that Mr. Grébin wants to take the floor, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I raised my hand because indeed this is key, and that's why we created our project in 2015. Back in the day, we already had very good trainings, and we have even more today. And the brain drain is something important for France, Canada. The first step is to develop a strong ecosystem at the local level to allow for more employment. Then money is key. Obviously, we need financial means and find fiscal stimuli. We've talked about support existing in France, and as I've said earlier, things have changed recently, but it is not enough. And even though we continue promoting exchanges internationally, well, market is evolving, things are going faster. And today, international studio can hire talents without going abroad, so without having to opening branches. This means that these companies can have an economic advantage, and they can be in different places in the Americas, in Europe, and elsewhere. And everyone can stay at home and doesn't have to leave their roots and be part of the video game industry. Thank you. Thank you very much. We have a question from the University of Luxembourg. Alexei, I don't know if that's possible for 1 minute, and then we'll have to call it a day to not finish much later.
De Jacopo Armani.
This is Jacopo Armeni.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for giving the floor for a moment. Sorry to be late in this conversation, but I was very interested in give you a bit of an idea of what we do at University of Luxembourg. We have currently a bachelor in animation, so which is focused mostly on film, but because we're assisting a convergence of skills and also a growth in Luxembourg in needs for artists who are also able to work in virtual reality, augmented reality, and now video games. We are steadily moving in towards game art, and we are also looking for partnerships. Some of the schools that presented here are actually already part of our Erasmus network, but our program is always on lookout for partnerships that can allow our students to visit other programs, and we are also more than happy to welcome students coming to us. Our program is a bachelor program, so it's a 3-year program, and we teach basically skills in computer animation, starting from 0 all the way up to junior position for animators or modelers. So we have main focuses there, and our students are looking for to discover what is available in terms of programs outside of our little country. So if you are interested in talking to me, you can reach out. I don't know if we can share with you somehow my contact information, maybe in the chat.
Oui, absolument. Je vais.
Well, yes, absolutely. I am going to indicate your contact details in the chat right away. But now we have to conclude. I can't add your email address in the chat, but anyway, the list of all speakers and contacts will be sent to you after this webinar. As you saw, we have made a detailed form for everyone to make sure that we have this information. So we have this list of registration, which is detailed, which is going to be sent to everyone. Mr. Armani, I will make sure that your contact is also amongst the list of participants. We are also going to send you a document with, in the main lines, the presentations which were made today by all the speakers. I thank all speakers for the openness for new collaboration, for the presentation of their training programs, and for the presentation of the type of partnerships they are looking for. As I was saying in introduction, this webinar is just a first contact, a first discussion between Belgium, Luxembourg, France, and Switzerland institutions offering trainings in video games. It opens a wide field of potential collaborations in the future, as was said also by Thomas Michelon in introduction. The French Embassy in Belgium as a mission invitation program to give substance to those first contacts taken today through invitation of higher education institutions representatives from Belgium who would like to go make a few days journey in France to meet people there, and the other way around, people from France institutions willing to travel to Belgium to meet their counterparts in Belgium, because of course virtual exchanges are important, but in physical connections are also very important indeed. So that is to conclude in a few words. Thank you very much to all our speakers for spending more than 2.5 hours, well, a bit less than 2.5 hours, sorry, with us. As I was saying, it is a first contact only. We hope that those discussions would lead to concrete collaborations. Many discussions were put on the table and interesting potential paths to follow. We had contacts from Belgium, Luxembourg, the Netherlands and Switzerland. We are available to you to guide you if you are looking for new contacts in higher education institutions in France, and to create new collaboration opportunities in the future. Thank you very much to everyone. Yes, thank you. Goodbye.